This is a short video presentation on addition and multiplication of radicals and a little bit later on rationalizing denominators. I'll get into what that is in a minute or a few minutes. First of all, this begins Unit 5, which is going to be all about radical functions. Be they radicals in terms of square roots, cubed roots, to the fourth root, etc. We're going to be looking at radicals, graphing radical functions, solving radical equations, etc., etc. Everything will have square roots or other roots. So to begin with, we need to look at adding, subtracting, and multiplying numbers with radicals, irrational numbers. First of all, let's look at addition. And addition and subtraction is the same thing. So if I had 5x plus 2x, that equals 7x. The x, this x here, this x here, stay the same. We just add the coefficients, 5 plus 2, and we get 7. When we add radicals, it's the same thing. 5 radical 3 plus 2 radical 3 equals 7 radical 3. It's nothing different than we've been doing ever since 7th grade, except now instead of x or y, we have an irrational number. If we have 6 radical 2 minus radical 2, if there's no coefficient in front, no integer in front, there's really a 1. We'll never write it, but it's there. 6 minus 1 is 5 radical 2. If you have 2 radical 3 over 3 plus 5 radical 3 over 2, we add the same way we've always added fractions. We get a common denominator times 2 times 3, and we end up with 4 radical 3 plus 15 radical 3 over 6, or 19 radical 3 over 6. So adding is really the same as anything we've done our whole life. One note, 5 radical 3 plus 4 radical 2 can't be simplified. Can't be simplified. That's a P, simplified. The radicals must match, just like 5x plus 4y can't be simplified. They're not like terms. Think of them as like terms. All right, multiplying. We've done this before, indirectly. We're multiplying. If I have radical A times radical B, it's radical AB. So 2 radical 3 times 4 radical 7 is 8. 2 times 4 gives me 8. Actually, I'm going to erase that 8. I'm going to do it in 2 steps. 2 times 4 And then radical 3 times radical 7 inside the radical 3 and 7. And then 2 times 4 is 8, radical 21. Just did this to show you. You wouldn't normally do that. You would just multiply the integer parts, multiply the irrational parts. And really, that's about all there is to multiplication. 5 radical 2 times 3, radical 3 I mean, would be 5 radical 6. And there's not much more to it. Now let's talk about fractions, your favorite thing. The rule, hard and fast in mathematics. No radicals, in the denominator. And no fractions in the radical. So, if we have 2 over radical 3, rule number 1 is violated. The way we do this is we take this radical, we multiply numerator and denominator by that radical. Because radical 3 times radical 3 is 3. And 2 times radical 3 is 2 radical 3. If you don't believe me, take your calculator, see what this equals, see what this equals. You're going to find out they're the same. When we multiply by radical 3 over radical 3, that's only equal to 1. And when we multiply by 1, we haven't changed the value. All right, let's do a couple of simple problems. The steps to rationalizing. Steps to rationalize the denominator. And we call it rationalizing because we're making the denominator a rational number. 1, simplify. 2, rationalize. And 3, simplify. Whenever you can, simplify, if possible. All right, 8 radical 3 over 3 radical 2. We cannot simplify the 3's. We can't simplify 2 into 8 because 1's in a radical, 1 isn't. No simplifying. So now we multiply by radical 2 over radical 2. Okay, we want to get rid of that radical. And we end up with 8 radical 6 over 3 times 2. I simplify. 2 goes into 8 4 times. And my final answer, 4 radical 6 over 3. if I had 2 radical 32 over 3 radical 8, before I do anything, I'm going to simplify this part because they're both in a radical. I end up with 2 radical 4 over 3, because 32 divided by 8 is 4, which is 2 times 2, or 3, or 4/3. Now, let's do the same problem, and we're going to switch one number. 6 radical 32 over 5 radical 27. Nothing simplifies, so now I simplify the numerator. Square root of 16 times the square root of 2, 32, 16 times 2, and 27 is 9 and 3. Simplifying the radicals like we did before. And now I end up with 6 times 4, radical 2, over 5 times 3, radical 3. And I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by radical 3. Show it in both places. Lastly, my 3 and 6 are going to cancel. So I end up with 8 radical 2, 2 times 3 is 6, over 5 times 3, radical 3 times radical 3 is 3, or 8 radical 6 over 15. And one super quick last thing, example here. If I had the square root of 1/3, anytime you have a fraction in a square root, write it as 2 square roots. And then we multiply top and bottom by square root of 3 over square root of 3, and we get square root of 3 over 3. And we're done. Sorry, this is kind of long, but covered a lot of information, but none of it is very difficult. All right, have a great day and take the quiz now. Love you guys. Take care. Talk to you later.